not a well-established historical event. Right? Can you give me an example of a source that establishes this without a shadow of a doubt?
And we just Google, you can say 100, 500, etc.
I do want to touch on that because I did want to mention data outside of the Bible as well. But
The Testimonium Flavianum, that's the famous passage in Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Section 63, where he mentions Jesus, that he performed astonishing deeds, that he gained followers from the Jews and the Gentiles, that Pilate, at the instigation of the leading men among them, the Jewish leadership, that is, that Pilate crucified him, and that his disciples reported that he appeared alive to them later. Now, I communicated with Louis Feldman, a Jewish scholar. He's since deceased, but he was the foremost Josephus scholar in the world at that point. Of all the Josephus scholars, how many of them, what percentage of them do you think would say that the TF, that Josephus did not write any of it? And he said, maybe at most 1 out of 3, maybe it could be 1 out of 5. He says, most people by far think that Josephus mentions Jesus there. A New Testament scholar named Tom Schmidt. He came out with an academic monograph published by Oxford University Press. He just said the tone that Josephus is using throughout, it's neutral. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's neutral. But here's what I think is pretty cool. It's Josephus's sources, who he had contact with. He personally knew Ananus II. Ananus II was the high priest.
No, I've heard this. Yeah.
Who put James, the brother of Jesus, to death. And as a result, he was deposed from his high priest office. Okay. So Josephus personally knew Ananus II. Now it gets even better. Guess who Ananus II, guess who his father was? Ananus the first, or also called Annas. Mm-hmm. He was the former high priest that after Jesus was arrested, they brought Jesus to Annas's house to be interrogated, according to the Gospel of John. And according to Mosaic law and the priesthood customs, the priest, Jewish priest, had on Passover, they had to be together as a family in their own house to celebrate Passover, which means that Ananus II would have been there. No, he would have been a teenager. He would have been a teenager in the house the night that Jesus, after being arrested, was brought to that house, and Annas' II father, interrogated Jesus. But there's more. Guess who Ananus II, guess who his brother-in-law was? Caiaphas, the high priest who put Jesus to death, who turned him over, condemned Jesus, and then turned him over to Pilate and told him he needed to put him to death. So Josephus, look how close he was to the very people, the 3 most arch enemies of Jesus and his disciples. So when he reports the death of Jesus, think of who his source were. He's got his friend Ananus II, who hated Jesus and the Christians and put his brother James to death. It's amazing. And this same Josephus reports the death of Jesus as well as the death of James, his brother.
But Cora says no. Yeah, I don't think we want to get through too much more of this, Mike. This is frustratingly dumb, especially when there's stuff out there that people could research, like what you're talking about. And we're getting proof beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Après, j'ai vu que c'est trop solide. J'ai vu que le dossier est trop solide, en fait. Comment je fais? Tu vois? Donc, comment ça se fait que la majorité des historiens, la quasi-totalité des historiens, des chercheurs, qui sont des spécialistes de tout bord confondu, ils sont d'accord que Jésus est mort. C'est un dossier à réouvrir. Pour moi, et je l'ai dit 100 fois, que Jésus, il a été mort, crucifié, ressuscité, élevé à la droite de Dieu.